I forgot about the tapes my wife's ex sent me before we got married, but I forgive her. Then she got pregnant while she was in France, and he sent me a new video of them fighting. Sorry ahead of time. I'll try to be as clear and thorough as possible while still telling this very long story. The relationship problems my wife, F32, and I, M27, are having were caused by her ex-boyfriend, and I think they are still hurting us today. To give you some background, we met for the first time while we were both studying abroad and working part-time at the same diner. She is from France and I am from Australia. We worked together for a few shifts, then became friends and then started dating. At the time, she was 24 and I was 19. We went out together for a little over 3 years before I moved back to my home country. After 2 years of living together, we chose to get married. The trouble began right after my fiancé and I got engaged. We chose to make the required social media posts to let everyone know about our big news. About a week later, I got a message request from an Instagram account I didn't know. I saw that my wife and the person were following each other, so I assumed it was one of her old school friends and accepted the request. There were already more than 100 texts from my wife's family and friends. I'd never met greeting us before, so I thought this message request would be the same. Instead of a good luck word and an introduction of who they were. After getting a bunch of screenshots of French language messenger talks, I got a message telling me to read these to find out how my fiancé is doing. Even though I thought something wasn't quite right, I still thought this person was a family member or friend of my wife whose English wasn't very good. I chose to translate the pictures so that I could answer them. Because I was naive, I thought they were cute messages because I could read that they were talks between two people. Stories about sexual meetings were one of the topics. The sex acts they had done, their boyfriends, and how Asian men are less good than white men. I am Asian, by the way. I replied with a message asking who the messages were between. It was my new SLT wife, they said, and they sent 3 sex tapes. At first I was shocked and thought right away that she had cheated on me. I watched the movies to see if it was really my wife after sitting there for a while, and trying to figure out what had happened. Later that night, after my wife went to sleep, I chose to watch the videos because I didn't think the woman I had been living with for 5 years could do something like that. I was sad to find out that all the movies were actually of her, though. That guy seemed to be in all 3 movies. In the third one, it was a different guy. It would be an insult to say I was angry. The woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with had been seen fucking not 1 but 2 other guys. The most upsetting and painful things for me were seeing her act in ways she never did with me and do sexual things with other guys that I really wanted to try, but she flatly refused to do with me, even after 5 years of dating and a proposal. I chose to approach her because I believed she had cheated on me with several other men. I wanted her to tell me why she did it. There was no more waiting for me to stay awake all night, so I woke her up at 6 a.m. and showed her everything that was sent to me. I then asked her to explain what it all meant. Right away, she started to hyperventilate and then cry. She apologized over and over and begged me not to leave her. This went on for about 10 minutes. Once I was able to calm her down, she told me that she had never cheated on me, and that these movies were from before we met and she had no idea they existed. She also told me that the texts were just between her and her best friend, and that they would talk about everything in their lives. She said that the things they talked about were so long ago that it seemed like someone else wrote the notes. She said over and over that the things she wrote in those messages made her feel very bad and guilty. She felt so bad about herself every time she did or said something like that. She showed me the chat logs between her and her best friend to try to prove she wasn't cheating. In the messages between them, she found the same parts of the talks and saw that they happened a long time before we met. I also learned that the person who sent me the Instagram post was her first love from high school in France. He seemed to be very emotionally and mentally controlling while they were together. She would do what he wanted and let him do whatever he wanted to her to get loving attention or praise from him. She told him she didn't get the images or sex tapes that he didn't even take. In the end, we decided that he had somehow hacked into her account. The 2 guys in the movies were short-term Korean boyfriends from when she first moved to another country, she said. To say I was glad would be an understatement. But when I looked at my wife, I felt disgusted. From then on, I tried to act like everything was fine, but I couldn't get over what I had seen. That woman I saw was very different from the one I saw before. Even though body count shouldn't matter, it really bothered me reading the texts about how many guys she slept with. When we told each other our body counts before, it didn't bother me at all. I believe she could have told me any amount and I would have been okay with it as long as it was true. But now I know she lied about how many men she had been with and that half of those men were guys I knew well and thought of as friends. It breaks my heart. When she got mad at me for not wanting to have sex with her, I finally told her how I felt. She began to cry again and asked if the wedding should be called off. I suggested that we think about it but not do anything just yet because I hoped that how I was feeling was only a phase and that I would soon feel better. I really didn't want my family and friends to ask me why we were not getting married anymore, and for me to have to explain what had happened. We decided to go to therapy together to work on our relationship and get married on the date we had planned before that crap happened. It was very helpful for us to go to couples therapy. One of the best things about our meetings was that we could try to talk about how we were feeling, and our counselor would perfectly put it into a coherent explanation. After 10 meetings, we were given a list of things we could do together to fix our relationship, and I was also sent to a psychologist for some private sessions that were really helpful. At this point, things were pretty much back to how they were before the messages, but I never really trusted my wife the way I used to. We did go through with the wedding because I thought that my wife's past shouldn't change how I felt about her, and that if we broke up, it would mean that her ex-boyfriend had achieved his goal and gotten what he wanted. About a year after we got married, my wife planned a trip to France to see all of our family and friends. I had planned to go with her at first, but I couldn't because I had just been promoted and had only been in my new job for a month. In the middle of her trip, her ex sent me another Instagram message saying, "She only likes you." It was followed by another sext. After a short time, I thought it was just another old movie that had been taken and stopped him. It was my intention to show my wife what he sent, but I forgot all about it. Now we are in the present. Our wedding is coming up soon, and we've been married for almost 2 years. People talked about when she might be due and about what day she would have conceived. While I was listening, I did some math in my head and saw that something didn't stack up right. The time she would have had to get pregnant is when she went back to France to see her family. I kept quiet and told myself that I must not have been doing the math right because I've never been good at it, but I remembered what her ex had sent me and knew something was very wrong. My fears finally got the best of me, and I watched the video he sent me to try to figure out when it was taken. I felt bad because I knew the video had to have been taken while we were together, because I could see a scar on her crotch area from waxing herself while we were on our vacation. The more I think about it, the more I've chosen not to tell her what I know. I'm not going to get help from family or friends, and I'm not going to therapy. The less people who know, the better. It would make me feel bad for other people to know that my wife is giving birth to someone else's kid. I'm not going to make up my mind until the baby is born and I know for sure that it is mine. Thanks to everyone who read everything I wrote. I needed to get this out because I was going crazy not being able to tell anyone what I was going through. Update: some people have asked questions about the timing. In September 2022, we got married. She went to France in the middle of December 2023 and stayed there for 5 weeks. The child is expected at the end of September. Update 1. First, I want to thank everyone who left a note, both those who gave me help and those who said bad things about what I did and thought. Reading about my situation from different points of view helped me see things more clearly, and I think gave me a more fair view. I'm not sure how to write this report because I just got a lot of new information. I really feel like someone pulled the rug out from under me, and I'm not sure how to make sense of it all right now. Many of you told me I should have told my wife about the new video, and many of you also told me to look at the EXIF data to see when the video was made. I did both things because everyone told me to. First, I looked at the information to see when it was made. It said that it was taken on January 1st, 2024, at 1:18 a.m. It was sent to me on January 6th, 2024. I remembered that people had said that data is easy to change, so I didn't take the new information too seriously, even though the video looked like it was pretty recent. I put her down on the couch and told her about her movie after looking at the information. With a list of things to say that I had made with my therapist, I was ready for the talk. I was very careful not to accuse her or make anything I said sound like a charge. I was ready for her to get mad at me for not telling her sooner. My therapist told me how to tell her the news and how to try to put her back in charge of the situation by offering to show her the video, letting her watch it on her own, and then deleting it in front of her when she was ready. First, I told her that I had gotten another sex tape from her ex and told her when I got it. That's when I told her why I didn't tell her right away, or when she got back from her trip. I explained what was going on and asked her if she wanted to see the video. She said yes, so I gave her my phone. She started watching the video almost as soon as I did, so I couldn't get up and leave the room to let her watch it on her own. As soon as I heard the sound from the video, I got up and started walking to a different room. That's when she grabbed my pant leg and began apologizing loudly. Because this happened before we met, I told her I wasn't sorry, and that I should say sorry for hiding it from her. She asked me why I told her now, and I told her the truth. I was worried about the due date, and couldn't quite make sense of it in my mind. That's when she lost it. She grabbed my hand and told me over and over that she was sorry, and that she wasn't fully aware because she was drunk. My heart just dropped, and I knew right away what she meant by talking over and over again. I threatened to leave right away if she didn't tell me what happened. To make a long story short, she cheated on me while she was in France with her ex-boyfriend, who sent me the videos and photos. After getting to know each other better at a New Year's Eve party, they kissed. They are from a small town in central France, with only a few thousand people. They say they saw each other at the grocery store a few days after she moved back to her village. My wife and her ex-boyfriend got together at the same New Year's Eve party because they all went to the same kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school. She also told me that her ex had admitted to breaking into her Facebook account to see the sex tapes she had made and sent to her other ex-boyfriends. But calling what he did hacking makes it sound very high-tech. He knew her old passwords when he got into all of her accounts because she hadn't changed them since high school. That's so stupid. She pleaded with me not to get a divorce and tried to make a deal with me. She said that this would be the last time she cheated on me and that she would be the best wife ever, letting me have sex with any woman I wanted. She even offered sexual acts. I told her that I would only stay if she did two things: gave me her phone so I could read her texts, and got a DNA test. She agreed right away to the genetic test, but she was hesitant to give up her phone at first. In the end, she gave in. I found more proof that she cheated on me on New Year's Day on her phone. I also found proof that she had cheated on me before from her period tracker app. The app helps her keep track of her periods and sex life. I only had to check the times where I wasn't in the same country as her to see if she had sex. She was very good at keeping track of her sexual practices, which was bad for her. I had already decided what I thought about the relationship by this point, so I just left. I'm in a hotel right now, but soon I'll be moving into the apartment I've been trying to rent out for a while. I talked to both my lawyer and my wife, and we both decided that I should go to the required therapy so that I can get a divorce, which will begin in October. We also decided that the DNA test would be done after the baby is born, and I booked my in-laws' flights to come to Australia earlier than planned to care for their daughter. Change 2. Hello, it's been a while since my last post. In the past month, I've been getting a lot of messages asking about my life and more specifically, the results of the DNA test. Since my last post, a lot has changed, especially where I live with my wife. I'm proud to say that I'm the father. When my son was born, I was in the hospital birthing room with my wife. I stayed with her for 5 days in the maternity ward. He was born to me, but I was pretty sure that the test would show that he was my child. He seems to dislike me more now than when I was a baby. Results showing that the two people were related came back about a week after the tests were taken. Prior to the birth of our son, my wife and I lived apart, and the only time we talked was when she sent me daily texts wishing me well and good night. We were still living apart after my son was born, but I would go over every day to help feed and change him. We still didn't spend much time together. And the only time we really talked was once a week when we had to go to marriage therapy to get a divorce. We saw physicians from 2 different clinics, and I felt like they were both trying to trick me into thinking that I was crazy for wanting to get a divorce from my cheating wife. One of them even told me that I shouldn't expect a modern marriage to be monogamous these days. The first therapy meetings at the first clinic seemed like any other. It's mostly just us telling each other how we feel, with the psychologist speaking only when she needs to get us to talk. If the therapy session had gone on as planned, everything would have been fine, but I began looking for other psychologists as soon as she suggested that we let other people into the bedroom to better understand and connect with each other. The second doctor we saw tried to persuade me for 2 sessions that it's normal for married people to have sex with people who aren't married, and that it would be selfish of me to raise the child without a father role, even if the father isn't mine. We did this before we got the results of the DNA test home. I knew right then that going to marriage therapy was a waste of time. The divorce case would be put on hold only if my wife agreed to sign a postnuptial agreement. She signed it as soon as I gave it to her. I'm just going to wait a year before filing for divorce. There won't be any limits or stupid marriage therapy. And at least my funds will be somewhat safe. My wife and I have moved back in together, but we still sleep in different rooms. The only reason I moved back in was to make it easier for me to spend time with my son and watch him when my wife and her parents need a break. I made the choice to be physically present in my son's life and help raise him after being with him for almost a month. As his actual father, I think it's my job to give him the best life possible, even if it makes me uncomfortable to talk to his mother. I'm trying to figure out how that will be possible after the split and how that will affect his mental and emotional growth. There must be other parents out there who can raise their kids this way. If so, how do you handle the situation? It's great that people cared about my love life, but nothing is happening. Since I found out my wife was cheating, I haven't thought about dating or having sex. I'm still going to split up with my husband. It's just a matter of time before the courts let me file for divorce without having to go through marriage therapy first. I also had my wife sign a post-nuptial agreement so that when we get a divorce, I can keep as many of my assets as possible. Comments where OP responded, "Hi, my name is 025019. Has she kept in touch with the AP since you found out about the affair? Oh no, she told me she's no longer talking to anyone. To be honest, It doesn't matter to me anymore, the damage has been done. He can have her. Basic happiness 35. Or is it just a small thing about your son? Does she try to talk to you in the house? She tries to talk to me all the time though. She has also tried to get close to me twice.